Welcome to MouthpieceSports.com's High School Buzz Session, coming to you tonight from the beautiful Grotto Restaurant at 3011 Butterfield Road here in Oak Brook. I have a beautiful panel to discuss some great high school sports topics too. I want to thank Verge Guerin, the assistant football coach at Fenwick, former Division I athlete at Northern Illinois, for coming out. Verge, great to have you here.
My pleasure.
Coach Mike Bukowski, a man with more jewelry than just about anybody other than Michael Jordan. 6 state championships as the head wrestling coach at Montini, also assistant football coach for a great program there. Coach, thank you for stopping by tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And Coach Jasper Strong to my right, the head man, just coming off his first season at Thornridge High School.
Yes.
Former star player at Mount Carmel and the University of Illinois, building a program in the south suburbs. Jasper, great to have you here as well.
Thanks for having me.
All three of you guys, there's a common theme here, and it's performance and winning. I mean, everyone has dedicated their lives to sports, first, as an athlete, and now as a coach or an administrator. And the first thing that strikes me as a fan kind of on the sidelines is, how do you take a program like Coach Strong is trying to build his and get it to a program where you have 6 state championships? Coach Bukowski, 22 years. It didn't happen overnight, did it?
No, it didn't. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And first and foremost, you have to give credit to the kids. And, I think it's our job as coaches when you step into a program and you have to have high expectations. And, I've been very, very fortunate to work with some tremendous kids and families that are willing to do and have been willing to do the things that we've asked them to do. And, I think being successful in sports at the high school level, it's not rocket science. It's a lot of hard work and have following a plan. And, we've been very fortunate to have kids that have been willing to do that.
Coach Strong, what was your first order of business? You played in the most prominent program in the state at Mount Carmel and then obviously in the Big Ten. What was your first order of business at Thornridge to try and get that program where I assume you wanted to go, was state championship level?
Well, the first thing I wanted to do, or what I tried to do, is to get a quality staff. And actually, I believe I had 4 of my teammates from the University of Illinois coaching on my staff on different levels, getting people that had good experience with the sport, had a passion for the game. And then we worked on our organization, practice organization, game organization, where we can be organized for the young men, where they don't have to think as much and run around as much, and they know exactly where to go. So organization, having the staff first and then organizing was the first thing that we did.
Coach Guerin, you're a former college athlete and an assistant at Fenwick. Do the kids take your word better and his staff with 4 former players as a former player? Do they say, hey, he played at Northern Illinois, he knows what he's talking about?
I think that if you have a background in college, I think that does lend some credence to the fact that if you're going to tell somebody to do something and you've done it in the past and were successful with that, I think that they are going to listen to you a little bit more. But at the same time, there's a lot of coaches out there that have not have not played on the college level, and they are outstanding coaches. So, sometimes it's a little bit easier to influence the kids with a background in college athletics, but at the same time, once again, I think that a good coach, they understand that if you have your passion and the passion is there and you have a commitment to the kids, and if what you're telling them makes sense, because kids are smarter than we give them credit for. When you tell them something and if they don't believe you and if they know that it's not coming from your heart, they're not going to do it. So, half a dozen of one, 6 of another.
Well, having a staff with former college athletes on it, I would think is a positive. Obviously, it's not a prerequisite for winning, but just having former college athletes is a unique thing because let's face it, at the high school level, 98% of these young men and young women will never wear a jersey again after they leave the halls of that high school. Being a Division I athlete or a college athlete in general is a rare thing. But for those elite athletes, like some of you guys, and for example, Coach Bukowski in football as an assistant had the top-rated player in the state last year, Garrett Goebel. Now he's at Ohio State. He had also a couple kids going to the Big Ten, and these kids played a couple sports. But Coach, in terms of managing him in his recruiting process, I mean, you had to watch all of that, and I would assume you were involved at some level.
Oh, yeah, you learn things as you go along, too. Garrett did a great job of handling that. We were lucky last year. Our graduating senior class on our wrestling team, we had 5 young men sign Division I scholarship letters to go on and wrestle at the Division I level last year. This year, there's a couple things in place. We'll have a couple more. So, again, due to their hard work, and we have had, Jasper mentioned our staff, and that's been a big key to us. You have to look for the right people. And, we were talking before about the club influence in wrestling, and We've got a young man on our staff right now, Israel Martinez, who has a lot of connections and is very well known in the collegiate circle and has wrestled at the highest level, and that's been a bonus to our program. And the other assistants I have too, they all fulfill a role, and they're all very important. And I think that's the key is the organization, when you get them to the point where they're doing what they do best and concentrating on what they do best, then I think that's when your program starts to have some continuity and role.
Coach Strong, I'm sorry, Virgil. Coach Strong, I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with the other 98% of the kids that aren't going to play after?
Well, we're not at the position similar to where I graduated from Mount Carmel, where they have a large number of players, in Fenwick as well, and in Montini. We're still in the building stages of building that tradition. So we really didn't have that problem of having a lot of guys on the sideline. We basically utilized just about everybody in some phase of the game, special teams, offense or defense.
Is it hard for a kid to come to that realization, Verge, that he's not going to play once that last snap of his high school season?
We tell them that all the time, and we do make it clear. We have a coaches meeting at the beginning of every year, and we bring the parents in and we bring the players in, and we make them understand that it is not the head football coach that is holding the scholarships, that if you are worth your salt, that you will be recognized, especially playing in a league, a very prestigious league like the Chicago Catholic League, you will be recognized. And parents have to understand and prepare the kids that you're a senior, this may be your last year of organized football, and let's move on. And there are more important things than football, and only less than 1% of all high school athletes throughout the entire country are going to receive that Division I scholarship. So let's be realistic, let's not have the blinders on, and let's move on with our life from there.
All right, well then let's take that to the next step. Let's be realistic. For those kids that do get to move on, they're obviously elite athletes. It's harder and harder to be an elite athlete in more than one sport now. Garrett Goebel was a heavyweight wrestler and a Division I football athlete, but those kids are getting fewer and fewer and far between. I played 3 sports in high school. I know Verge did. I know you played a couple, Jasper, at Mount Carmel. But there's so much pressure now to focus on that one sport. And I would think as a football coach, you want your 6'5", 240-pound tight end not playing basketball. But what if he wants to play basketball? How do you juggle a kid who wants to be a 2-sport athlete today, Coach?
In all honesty, I encourage young men to participate in as many sports as they can because, number one, those other sports can work you in a different fashion than football can, whether it's basketball or any other sport, track. You're using muscles, you're learning particular drills and skills in those other sports. And it also builds morale at the school for you to be a part of other sports. We don't want to hold on to all of the football players where they can't help the basketball team or any other sport be successful for the high school, just for the spirit of the school. So I encourage players to participate in more than one sport.
Is he in the minority in that opinion, Verge, or is that becoming more and more accepted?
I know that we over at Fenwick High School, for instance, we encourage that. We want them to be in as many game situations as possible. The competitiveness, as you mentioned, when we were playing, you moved from football into basketball into baseball, let's say, and you knew that when you were sitting on the free throw line and the game was on the line, that I'm okay with this because of the fact that I just came off the football season. I'm not new to this. I can handle this situation. I can handle the pressure. Now, 3 sports is a rarity nowadays. It really is. But I think 2 sports, I think it's doable. What we do over at Fenwick High School, for instance, is we will go ahead and a kid that's playing football and let's say baseball, for instance, and we know that boy has to be in the weight room one way or another. In order to compete with some of the schools in the Chicago Catholic League, he has to be in the weight room. Well, he has to make a little bit more of a commitment in order to play those 2 sports. And what we'll do is we'll open up the weight room early. They come in there at 6:30 in the morning, they get their lift in, they get their school day done, and then they go to baseball, and they're still preparing themselves for the fall and the football season.
Well, multiple sport athletes may be a rarity, but luckily multiple topics on the High School Buzz Session are not. And we will tackle many more when we are back on the High School Buzz Session at mouthpiecesports.com. Stay with us.